let's get moving into our special presentation. I'm happy to welcome MeganTurner, who is originally from Fort Smith, Arkansas, who made Aliyah to Beersheba in 2012. So she's an old pro at the Israel scene. She has a master's in social work and is completing her PhD. Did I know that? I don't know that I knew that. At Ben Gurion University, which I am so very jealous that she is studying there. She's studying the effects of racism on new immigrants in Israel's periphery. She began working with Eretz Ir, a nonprofit that runs the Louder Employment Center, which is affiliated with the Jewish National Fund, at the height of the 2020 coronavirus outbreak, and is now leading the LEC's, Louder Employment Center. I don't do good with abbreviations. Social media strategy task force, right? A task force of one. That's awesome. And is also the JNF USA liaison for the Louder Employment Center. She directs the social initiative Pima for social and responsible tourism. She's passionate about building and strengthening Israel's periphery, specifically in the Negev, where she lives with her fiance Yagel, who is an awesome guy, and 2 rescue dogs. So I welcome to our floor, Megan.
Wow, what a welcome. So I really want to tell you all good morning, only because it's like 1:30 in the morning here. So I definitely apologize for any trip ups that I may have just because of the hour. But thank you so much for having me. I love to be interrupted because I am very much Israeli at this point. So I'm going to kind of give you guys a little bit of a look into what social and responsible tourism is, and also talk a little bit about the Louder Employment Center, since that is our amazing connection to Jewish National Fund. But please jump in. You guys, I'm from the South, like with all family here. You have any questions, like, please feel free. But like Sam said, let's see, I'll start my share screen, just show you guys a little tiny bit about myself. All right, so I made Aliyah from Arkansas into 2012, straight to Beersheba. I would love to hear from any of you, like even just raise your hand. And who's been to Beersheba in this group? Raise your hand. Yes, yes, yes. So I also want to just put this out there. After Corona is over, anytime you are in Beersheba, you look me up and I will take you out for a cup of coffee or a beer or a cocktail, whatever your poison may be. And I'll show you a little bit of our amazing city. So I came here with one dog, and unfortunately she passed away. I've been here for a little while and now have these 2 huge, beautiful rescue dogs. Beautiful, amazing fiance who is from Beersheba. And we got engaged right before Corona hit and haven't gotten married yet and wonder when it'll happen. But that's like, you know, that nice, like the question that you don't want to be asked anymore. Because I don't know when it's going to happen at this point, but it will happen at some point. So I, again, like, you know, we talked about in my bio, my background is in social work. I am studying, I did my master's at Ben Gurion University, amazing, amazing university in the heart of Beersheba, and working on my PhD also in social work. But I did like a nice big career change, kind of took a big left turn and came into the nonprofit organization called Eretz Ir, which is the nonprofit organization that runs the Louder Employment Center. Have any of you been to visit the Louder Employment Center by any chance? No? Okay, so it's a treat. I'll show you a little bit about that after we talk about social and responsible tourism. But basically, these are words and organizational names that get mixed together a lot, Eretz Ir and Louder Employment Center, because we're all basically like the same thing. I'm not going to bore you with trying to understand the nuanced differences of those things today. Instead, I'm going to take you on a tour of social tourism and responsible tourism. First of all, Has anyone heard of what social responsible tourism is? Or is that like a totally new kind of like, am I just throwing words at you? Thumbs up if you've heard of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
Have you
I'll
heard of
tell
it?
you.
Nope.
So social tourism, okay. We don't exactly do social tourism, but that's what we translate it to in Hebrew, which is why this is the academic in me getting really, really nitpicky about things. What we do is more responsible tourism. And before I read you this amazing poem on the screen that really captures the essence of what social tourism is, I'm going to read you just a couple of the principles behind responsible tourism, why we do what we do. Because this idea behind social tourism is it's not just to come see the history, which is great. There's nothing wrong with classic tourism. This is just a different way of coming and experiencing a place. It's not just to come and see this building or to learn the history of this place. It's to really understand the people who are living in that place and their story and the challenges that they go through on a daily basis, which I think is really, really unique, especially since you guys probably have some Israel experience. So this is a really interesting way to come and see a place that you've already experienced before and to understand it on a bit of a deeper level. So some of the things that we do in responsible tourism, we try to minimize negative economic, environmental, and social impacts. We also try to generate greater economic benefits for the local people who are actually part of this type of tourism. We involve the local people in the decisions about the tourism, how to build the tours, how to present themselves. We try to make sure that we're doing positive contributions to the conservation of natural and cultural heritage. Also not making any sort of negative impact on nature or the places that we go to visit. And we also, I think most importantly, is we want to provide enjoyable experiences for tourists through more meaningful connections with local people and a greater understanding of local cultural, societal, and environmental issues. So that's the key there. It's like, we're not just coming to see how beautiful and pretty things are, we're coming to talk about the nitty gritty, the tachlis. And I'll read you guys this amazing poem that we have. I start out all of my tours with this poem because it really, I think, gives the essence of what we're trying to do. And I'll explain too that Pima, Israel Inside Out, is the name of the social tourism initiative within all those other nonprofits, where we try to bring people to see the deeper side of Israel. So that's why Pima is up on the screen. So this poem is: visits of condolence is all we get from them. They squat at the Holocaust Memorial. They put on grave faces at the Wailing Wall, and they laugh behind heavy curtains in their hotels. They have their picture taken together with our famous dead at Rachel's tomb and Herzl's tomb and on Ammunition Hill. They weep over our sweet boys and lust after our tough girls and hang up their underwear to dry quickly in cool blue bathrooms. Once I sat on the steps by a gate at David's Tower. I placed my 2 heavy baskets at my side. A group of tourists was standing around their guide, and I became their target marker. You see that man with the baskets? Just right of his head, there's an arch from the Roman period, just right of his head. But he's moving. I said to myself, redemption will come only if their guide tells them, you see that arch from the Roman period? It's not important. But next to it, left and down a bit, there sits a man who's bought fruit and vegetables for his family. So again, that kind of just gives you a little taste of what we're trying to do in social responsible tourism. We're trying to bring in a little bit of a different view from a typical tourist experience. So I want to show you guys just a couple, okay, what does that mean? I've talked so much about, okay, there are these principles and here's what we do. But at the end of the day, what does that mean? The first initiative that I want to show you is just an example. I'm going to give you some taste and hopefully it'll just make you more excited and interested to learn a little bit more. The first example is SNAP, which means Special Needs and Photography. Okay, this is an amazing social initiative that's based out of Beersheba, 4 professional photographers came together and said, we love what we do, but we feel like we need to contribute something back to society. How do we do that? So they created a social business where they take people who have, there are different types of special needs. They may be high functioning on the autistic spectrum. They may have some sort of physical disability, and they actually go through and teach them through the course of 2 years how to be a professional photographer. This can be event photographer, product photography, all sorts of different ways to, to give them this skill. And then after they complete this course, where they're going hand in hand with the professional photographers, they get hired by Snap to be on their team of photographers. So I, for example, when I get married one day, I actually have already closed with them that they're going to come and be my photographers at my wedding. So you get one or two of the professional photographers and 2 or 3, depending on the size of the event, of the photographers with special needs, who are spectacular at what they do, and they add so much of a different value to the experience. Because also too, they, when they're coming to work at the events, they're learning how to deal with the pushy brother-in-law who wants these pictures this way, and the people who, all the chaos and the stress. And they do it. One of our tours that we do with them is actually part of their training whenever a student comes in. So this is that social and that responsible part. Okay, so we have one of the professional photographers actually do a full presentation how this whole initiative came about, and then they have one of the photographers with special needs who is still in the course, not quite working yet, come and present themselves in front of this group. Okay, because they're learning how to, in a very safe environment, present their story and talk to a large group of people. And then the coolest part, if you come to one of these tours with Snap, they take you around the beautiful old city of Beersheba, and they teach you how to take the most amazing professional pictures with your smartphone. So it's a really, really interesting way to help people see the city, and also to give you some cool skills afterwards, and to support something that's amazing and local. So just so you can see their face, or their website, I can send this to Sam so you can read a little bit more about them. But this is the first cohort right here on the screen that graduated. These guys were actually at my friend's wedding too, and took pictures there. A really, really spectacular group of people who are sharing their talent in a really, really cool way. So another type of let's say another community that you might go visit on a social tourism tour here in Israel would be for an organization called Hareshet. Hareshet is a group of young adults. Now, I don't know, do any of you guys live in a college town? Some hands, any college town people? Yeah. Do you notice a bit of a brain drain in your college town? Like young adults come in and they study and they maybe make a nice impact for a year or 2 while they're there, and then they leave because, oh, I just came here for college, right?
I wouldn't call it that.
So, well, that's what we see in Beersheba a lot.
Oh, okay,
maybe
good,
it's a little...
good. The students are better in Beersheba, I'm sure.
Right. Listen, it's a question, right? Because how much of an impact do these students come, and sometimes they don't leave such a great impact. Absolutely. But this organization, Hareshet, it's a group of 30-somethings, late 20s, early 30s, right before having kids, and they said, instead of doing what people typically do, which is come to Beersheba, have the best 3 years of my life, and then run away from it to go to Tel Aviv, we're going to stay in Beersheba because there's something very special here. And this actually connects a lot to the work that we do at the Ladder Employment Center, which I'll touch on in just a few minutes as well. So let's watch a short video about Hageshet, just so you guys can see like what they do and kind of understand a little bit more about the impact that they're having on the city that they're living in. There are subtitles. It is in Hebrew, so I do suggest that if you need to get a little closer to read the subtitles, feel free. But I'm gonna get started.
אז אני בן מורג, נולדתי, גדלתי בבאר שבע, לא אהבתי את באר שבע וממש חיכיתי לרגע שאני אעזוב אותה והתגלגלו החיים שחזרתי לכאן והתחלתי לעשות שינוי.
אנחנו בעצם זיהינו איזושהי תופעה של חבר'ה שהם בין שלבי חיים ואין לזה ממש שם. הם כבר לא סטודנטים, הם עוד לא הורים עם ילדים, ושמנו לב שהרבה מהאנשים שמגיעים לשלב הזה, באוטומט שלהם עוברים לתל אביב.
יש משהו שחסר. וזה קהילה גדולה כזאת, שלא דורשת ממך הרבה מחויבות, ושכל אחד יכול להרגיש בה שייך, וכל אחד יכול להרגיש בה פעיל, וכל אחד יכול להרגיש שיש לו יכולת להשפיע בתוך עיר. החזון שלנו זה באמת לראות איך כל עיר נהיית מקום הרבה יותר קהילתי, שמאפשר לתושבים תחושת שייכות ולקחת אחריות על העיר, ובמות להיות מעורבים בתוך העיר.
מרמת הפסטיבל שהם רוצים שיהיה להם, דרך המיזם הקהילתי שהם רוצים, כמו הנגרייה הקהילתית, או יוגה בשכונה, או יער מאכל, או דברים כאלה, ועד בכלל לרמה שאני משפיע ומעצב את המקום שאני גר בו.
פעם בחודש, חודש וחצי, אנחנו עושים אירועים השתתפותיים. כל המשתתפים לוקחים חלק לא רק כצרכנים של האירוע, אלא כמי שהם מפיקים אותו. דוגמה אחת טובה היא הפיקניקים. אנחנו עושים פעם בחודש וחצי פיקניק, שבו אנשים מביאים את השמיכה שלהם. שמשייה אנחנו דואגים, אנחנו נותנים את המסגרת, ואנשים מביאים את התוכן. והחיבורים המקריים האלה הם מתעצמים, גורמים יותר לחיבור בין האנשים לבין עצמם, בינם לבין העיר, ובינם לבין הגוף הזה שנקרא הרשת, שמאפשר לדברים האלה להמשיך לצעוד לאורך זמן.
אני חושבת שהיום המצב של הערים בפריפריה כדי למשוך צעירים בני מקום להישאר לחיות שם וחדשים להגיע לערים כמו קריית שמונה, דימונה, ירוחם, אז צריך מודלים חדשניים, וזה מודל שאומר, יש קהילתיות בעיר.
אני מסתובב הרבה בעיר, ושיש, כאילו, העיר, כמו שאני רואה אותה, יש לה עוד הרבה דרך לעבור, אבל אני נהנה כל כך לראות בכל פרי סקול כזה, בכל פיקניק, בכל פרויקט נוסף של הנגרייה, זה עוד פעם מותח לי את החיוך הזה על הפנים, ואני יודע שאנחנו בדרך.
So these are some of the amazing people that I work with at Hageshet. And it's really fun to come and see the different things that they're doing in Beersheba to make Beersheba a better city for the people who want to live here and the people who are already living here. So, you know, they mentioned a couple of the really cool social initiatives that you come and see through our tourism venture, such as the community carpentry shop. They opened a carpentry shop in a school. They're using the school after school hours, and which is a great use of community space and public communal space. And they have like all of the heavy equipment that not people aren't necessarily going to have at their house. And they actually teach people how to do woodworking, which is really wonderful. They also have the it's like kind of hard to translate into English. It's called hakoboynik, which is basically a storage shed that has all different things that you can come and rent. It has shovels, it has beach umbrellas, it has all these things that like that particular age group, this young adult age group that they're trying to attract to bring here and keep in Beersheba are not necessarily going to have in their tiny little student apartment. So these are people that have taken really a creative approach to the problems that they find in their community in order to make the city better and more useful for them. So that's another really great example of of just the things that you can do and come and see if you do tourism in a tiny bit of a different way. You just look at things a little bit differently. So I could go on all night about the amazing different initiatives that we have to go see in our particular social tourism venture, but I'll leave it there. I want to talk just a couple of minutes about the Louder Employment Center, which is our direct connection to Jewish National Fund. And part of the reason that you guys are here, I would assume, So first of all, before I move on to that, do you guys have any questions about this really like tip of the tongue, tiny bit of a taste that I've given you about social responsible tourism? Or are we ready to move on? Awesome. So I'm going to show you.
I've got a question.
Talk to me.
This is all about getting younger people into Beersheba and getting them to stay. Why exactly is that important?
It's a really good question. So if we look at, if you look at strategically, and this is what we can talk about a little bit too, I can connect it to the louder employment center here. In order for Israel to continue being this amazing, thriving, developing place that we all love and care about, obviously, we have to pull people out of the center of the country. Are any of you aware? I mean, have any of you been stuck in Tel Aviv traffic ever? Anyone? Tel Aviv is an amazing, beautiful place, right? We'll do Tel Aviv traffic. One very interesting statistic is currently we're standing on 9 million people living in the entire country, okay? Out of the 9 million, 6 million live in Tel Aviv and its suburbs. Okay, we talk about the Negev where Beersheba is located. This is 60% of the landmass of Israel. 60% of the state of Israel, of this place that we love and that we hold so dear, that holds only 10% of the population. There's something like we're missing a little bit of logic here. If we continue building and building and building in the center, and we continue neglecting the periphery areas of this country. So why is it important to keep people in a place like Beersheba? Is because we want Israel's future to be sustainable. And currently the way that it's going, if we get to the projected population numbers in Israel's centennial in 2048, the entire population will be around 18 million. And if we continue in this projection, in this trajectory, we'll have about 13 million in the greater area of Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, to the point that those two cities will basically connect to one another. That is not sustainable. It's already not sustainable with the traffic, with the congestion, with the housing prices. Why in the world do I want to keep pushing people to live in the center of the country when I have all these other amazing places that are developing a lot because of organizations like Jewish National Fund? You think about the housing development that's going on, the parks, bringing in medical centers, doing economic development and employment development through the Louder Employment Center. These are the things that are making it possible to start pulling people out of the center. The center is not the end all be all. But if you come to Israel, a lot of people will say that. Ew, you live in Beersheba? Ew, what is in Beersheba? Ew, why would I ever want to go there? Because they're still in that mentality of that's the periphery. And that's another, like a whole other lecture that we can go on that we don't have time for today. But invite me again.
Answer. But let me just add, for people who might be over 40 or even over 50 or 60, these smaller communities are so important to maintain. I mean, we're all from small communities here, and small Jewish communities anyway, even if you live in a city. But these smaller communities in Israel, I encourage you to go as a older adult and just soak in the community, soak up the kids, soak up the young adults, because that's what makes a diverse and really exciting and loving and whole place to live that we don't often get in the United States as we segregate our ages. That doesn't happen as much in these smaller communities in Israel, which I really appreciate. So thanks,
Absolutely.
Megan. I'll get off my soapbox.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
My Beersheba looks amazing. Do any older people live there?
Yes, we actually have the average for people over the age of 65 in all of Israel is about 10% of the population. And in Beersheba, it's 15%. So we actually have it's called, in Hebrew, they call it the third age, like what we call the golden age. So we actually have a lot of very specific programs specifically for that age group to try and help them feel like more part of the community. So I just gave you guys an example of how young adults are trying to improve their communities, but there are also a lot of really cool projects going on how to encourage older adults to be an active part of their community as well. So it's there's the entire age range here, and because we have a larger percentage of our population who is 65 and older, our mayor, which I think you guys all know, Ruvik Danilovich, right? Like, we love him so much, but he very much respects the knowledge and the experience that people who are older can bring to the table, and even has them to be, just like how the trend is always, let's get young people involved, let's have them be the decision makers. He's also very keen on having the older population also be a part of that conversation. Is there any other questions? Yes, I see there's a question. Oh, hold on, I'll unmute. Maybe can you unmute yourself so we can hear you?
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We have in our congregation, we have a young woman who made Aliyah. Now she's back and she's going to go back again. But I have been to Beersheba before, twice actually, and it's a wonderful, wonderful place. Here's my question. What kind of program do you have that would entice older people to come for 2 months or 3 months and live, work, contribute for a period of time within the Beersheba area?
It's a really good question. And I think it's something that my previous job, I also didn't mention this, I was the director of immigrant services for the city of Beersheba for about 5 years before I moved over here to this job. And I think that is something actually that is very much missing in Beersheba, is the ability to connect people to come on these longer term. I say longer term, 2 months is not super long, but I'm saying longer term than just like a couple of days or a week, to come and actually feel that experience in the city. And it might be a really interesting way to build, and that might be for me to take on too, as the social tourism queen, to figure out an experience to have people come in. We have lots of amazing volunteer opportunities. It just would take someone to raise the flag and say, let's do this, and make it possible. So I think it's something that's missing, but something that could very easily be
Or even some of the outlying communities within the area. And I'm not saying just to live there, but to make a contribution.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, so, there's something, for example, another JNF partner with Ale Negev, you do have an opportunity to do that. Ale Negev is the Rehabilitative Village for people, for children and young adults with severe physical and mental handicaps. You can come and actually live on their village and contribute in different ways, whether it be working in the garden with the patients. I've seen people take some of the kids on bicycle rides. So that is definitely a possibility to do. There are some of these longer term volunteer opportunities to come and make an impact. I also know that we had kind of like a pilot program at the Louder Employment Center. One of a really amazing friend of JNF, Rhonda Foreman, if you guys know her. She's not from the South. She's not from a small community, but she came and actually was between Ale Negev, which is about 15 minutes outside of Beersheba, and the Louder Employment Center. And she stayed for, I want to say, about a month and a half, 2 months. And when she wasn't volunteering at Ale Negev, she was actually teaching English to the women directors of Louder Employment Center. Not because she's an English teacher, but because she speaks English, and this is one of those things that could be a really, really amazing impact, is just coming and working with people on skills that you already have, that you could help build and strengthen with them.
So I would ask you to send to Sam whatever programs that are available and your email address, and who knows what tomorrow brings.
Amen. I think it's wonderful, and I'm happy to hear any other great ideas that you have. I think this is wonderful. So we'll definitely be in touch. Any other questions before we move on just very quickly to the Louder Employment Center? No, we're good. Okay, so let me take you guys very quickly through this beautiful place called the Louder Employment Center. Remind me, has anyone been to the Louder Center to visit the Louder Employment Center, or no one? So I'm showing you guys something totally new. Okay, so the Louder Employment Center was established 5 years ago by Mr. Ron Louder, who I think you guys all know his name and probably also his contribution, together with the Jewish National Fund and Ben Gurion University. Now, this is the center in Beersheba. This is where it all began. We began by coming in and mapping the needs of young adults, because again, you were talking a little bit about that brain drain, how they just automatically go to Tel Aviv because there's nothing here. There's no future here, because that's what was happening for a long time. If you look at the numbers, when we began our work in 2015, only about 3% of Ben Gurion University's students from outside of Beersheba stayed in Beersheba after their studies were over with. 3%. 3% of 20,000 students a year. That's nothing. When we measured again in 2018, that number had jumped to 20%, which is wonderful. It means that we're doing our job. It means that the city is doing their job. It means that all the other people who are working within the mechanism are doing their jobs. The real test, however, is going to be when we check in another 10 years. Are those people still here? Have they built their families here? Are they still in the Negev? Are they contributing to building life here in the Negev? Okay, so this is just the beginning of while things are great and they look like we're doing a really good job, the real test is still to come. Well, what we did, we began working with Negev employers to figure out what their needs were and to figure out where the gaps were in education and curriculum from Negev colleges and academic institutions, and why they weren't hiring these young adults who were just fleeing to the center. And a lot of it was something simple, like, the courses that they take are, I think we all probably know this, like whenever you study something at a university or an academic institution, especially if it's in the technology field, it's probably at least 2 years behind, because a lot of times the curricula don't keep up with the very fast changing field of tech, for example, or engineering. So we came in and started working with the employers to figure out what their needs were. We worked with students to train them better and to also give them a foot in the door through things like internship programs, because internships, while they're a beautiful thing and something that we have a lot of in the United States, it is not such a thing here. And so whenever you come in and try to come and build an internship program, Israelis in the beginning kind of look at you like you have 3 heads. But then they understand, wow, there's a lot of extra value to this, because there are these students who, if they just had a tiny bit of experience, they would become the best workers, and they're the ones that want to stay in the Negev. So that's a lot of what we're doing here in Beersheba. The center itself is absolutely gorgeous, as you can see. This is where I have the privilege of working on a daily basis. I'm a little bit spoiled. We have an olive tree right here. We have orange trees. Again, I'm telling you guys, the perfect place to come and have a cup of coffee with me and pick an orange off of a tree. Interesting and very, very exciting is this Sunday, the 15th. So Sunday that just happened, we opened the Louder Employment Center in Akko. So we're trying to take and replicate all of the amazing success that we've had in the Negev and encouraging economic development in the Negev, and we are replicating it in the north. Now, there are lots of different challenges to take care of. The Galilee has its own employment fields that need strengthening, and we're tackling that challenge now. And so the Louder Employment Center in Akko is also on the beach. So you should come there too as well and have a nice cup of coffee and enjoy the beautiful beach. We do lots of really amazing activities all together. We have, this picture is of our Human Resource Professionals Forum. We have over 40 different human resource development directors in our forum. They come together, they do professional development together, they do training together, and they have a lot of knowledge sharing. And through this, they've been able to build, they've been able to increase their capacity building in their organizations. They've been able to keep people more and to find the right candidate for a job. We work with Nestle, we work with Intel, we work with Dell, we work with Wix. I've got lots of names to throw at you. We work with all of them. We also work with the students. So this is all very obviously pre-corona time with as many people are in one picture. I get a little like nervous now looking at pictures like this. But this is at the high-tech park in Beersheba, which we didn't even talk about, but we do have a high-tech park, and we are one of the leading capitals of cybersecurity in the entire world here in Beersheba. And we have these amazing job fairs and career days at the high-tech park in order to encourage students to come learn about careers here. This is another picture of that. And probably my favorite thing that we do at the Louder Employment Center is the work that we do with individuals. This is Maor Cohen. He was part of our internship program in 2019. You can see that he does have a disability. He is a disabled IDF veteran. And because he was disabled and hurt during his Army service, he had a huge gap in his employment history. And even though he was a star student in electrical engineering, he was really worried because Israel is very big about like, okay, why is there this gap on your resume? Like they're very, very into that. And he was really concerned that he wasn't going to find a job, even though he had excelled in his studies. So he started with our internship program and was placed in a place called Roboticon, where they build drones and other really crazy things for the Ministry of Defense. This, what he's holding in his hand, is actually a drone called the Rooster that he built himself. And he went into the internship program, was given this opportunity, 2 months of hands-on experience with them. They hired him straight out of the internship program. He still works there. Even more than that, they realized that they needed more electrical engineers, and they turned him into an entire department within a year. So this is really, really like, these are the people that show the impact of the Louder Employment Center's work, because Maor, even though he's from Beersheba, if he hadn't had an opportunity to get a job here, he would have been gone with everyone else. Maybe eventually he'd come back, but it's those critical years of trying to get people to stay here to build their lives from the get-go without having to move to Tel Aviv and all. Why go through that? Let's keep the power, the amazing human capital that we have here as much as possible. Another really cool thing about the internship program is that we have, up until now, this is our 4th cohort of interns, and 90% of them have received a full-time job offer at their place of internship after interning, and 85% of them are still living in the Negev. So this is some really, really these are promising numbers showing that, wow, just because all we needed to do, I say that like as if it was very simple. The work that needed to be done from the Louder Employment Center was to come and take all of these stakeholders, the employers, the academic institutions, the job seekers, and to get them on the same page, basically, and help coordinate the efforts to help employers find good employees and to help employees find good employers, and to do all that while keeping people in the Negev. And we hope that we're going to be doing that very, very soon as well in the Galilee. And so now you guys have a few different options of places to visit when it comes to the Louder Employment Center. And that is that. I've talked your head off for a lot longer than I expected to. And I've got so much more to say, but I'm going to I'm going to close it up now. So does anyone have questions maybe about the Louder Employment Center? Because my question is, when are you guys coming for a coffee? Because I can go get the water on. I'd love to show you the place. I'd love to take you on a tour and answer more of your questions as well. And to show you the amazing work that we're doing, whether it be through community building, whether it be through social tourism, whether it be through employment and economic development. And we're doing all of this with the amazing support of Jewish National Fund, which is making all of this possible. So Sam, thank you for the option.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned some big names.
Yeah.
But Michael, are there small businesses that are also part of the internship program?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have, we actually try to, we have really good relationships with all of those organizations. But I mean, listen, like you're going to get me on a soapbox and I'm not going to be able to get down, but like small businesses are really where we need to be supporting. The large businesses are fun to, it's fun to name drop. But whenever I can say that we have interns at Morphistech, which maybe you guys haven't heard of, but is a small international company that does cybersecurity, that actually started as a startup of Ben Gurion University of the Negev, that's even cooler that we get to put people in those organizations and give them a chance to grow even more, because smaller organizations, a little bit more family life. So we definitely work with small, like we work with, I would say, more small companies and startups than we do the larger companies. But it's definitely a balance because you need to work with all of them.
Right. And how about, is there anything special for New Olim?
So we do work together a lot with Nefesh B'Nefesh and with other, Nefesh B'Nefesh deals with North American holdings, but we actually currently have a project with the city of Beersheba, where we're taking a group of New Olim from the former Soviet Union, and we are helping to give them career services, helping them build their resume that's appropriate for an Israeli job market. And we're also helping them improve their professional Hebrew, which is something that, you come into Ulpan, I studied in Ulpan, it doesn't get you ready for the workforce on any level. So it's really, really, it's fun to come in and see that we're looking a little bit, because there are these amazing government things, like these government bodies that give Ulpan for free for new immigrants and give all this financial assistance, but it's so disconnected because it's a huge government body that they don't understand that the help that they're giving is sometimes not the most efficient and the most effective. So we've been able to come in and on a much smaller level say, okay, let's take this group of people, let's give them really practical skills to help them in the Israeli job market, which is much different than the Ukrainian job market, than the Russian job market, than the North American job market, and let's help them to be successful here. So yeah, we do a lot of really cool projects with New Olim, which is really exciting for me since I am myself still a New Ola.
Excellent.
I have 2 more years to be a New Ola. Until 10 years in Israel, I can claim that title.
Okay. Any other questions?
We love your enthusiasm.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I really, really, really do appreciate being able to come and talk to you. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your trip. I have no idea where you guys are going tomorrow, but enjoy it. And please, I'll send my contact information to Sam. I mean, Sam already has my contact information. We're good friends already. Small communities in the house, because I'm also from a small community. But I'll send a little email together so you guys can know how to be in touch with me. And please feel free to reach out. And again, my invitation for coffee is not an empty one. I'm from the South. I know Southern hospitality. You guys are in Beersheba. You call me and I'll take care of you. Okay? So thank you so much.
Megan.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.